Earlier this month, the world marveled at Nicholas Edin's spinner shot, with many calling it the greatest shot in the history of curling. That seems to be the prevailing opinion, but it is far from a unanimous one. In particular, there is one famous, incredible shot that many still point to as the best rock they've ever seen. Let's head back to March 1985. We're in Moncton, New Brunswick for the Labatt Brier, and Pat Ryan of Alberta leads Al Hackner of Northern Ontario 5-3 heading into the 10th and final end. In the days before the free guard zone rule, this was considered a large, though not necessarily insurmountable, deficit, and Hackner did manage to set up an end with some rocks in play. Still, after Ryan threw his last shot, a great hit and roll behind a Northern Ontario guard in its own right, Hackner was left with few options to get his dues and force an extra end. The most realistic possibility was to throw a thin double, which required getting close by his guard, throwing low enough weight to get a little curl, and catching just enough of Alberta's first rock to both remove it and redirect onto their second. Oh, and he had to stick the shooter, too. Hackner sized it up and then threw one of the most celebrated shots in curling history.
The Canadian Championship and a trip to the Air Canada Silver Broom awaits the winner. The final rock of the 10th end. Hackner must kill both Alberta stones and save the shooter.
Oh, he's well out there. Now it's starting to curl. Is he going to hit it?
He's going to get a piece of it. He may have it.
Oh, it's a piece. Can you believe that? Can you believe that shot? Fantastic! The whole crowd is standing up here, Don. That is the most fantastic shot I've seen in curling.
This was, without a doubt, a brilliant shot. Anyone who has tried to throw these extremely thin doubles knows how little room for error there is, especially with a guard in the way. Still, I suspect that many people viewing this right now are thinking that they've seen similar shots made at their clubs at least a handful of times. Some of us have even made them. Sometimes even on purpose. Of course, the setting and the situation are a big part of why the Hackner Double rises above any similar shot that 99.99% of curlers have made in their careers. He did it to stay alive in the Brier final, and ultimately went on to win the game when he stole in the 11th end. But I think there's one other factor that many people overlook when comparing the Hackner Double to the Edin Super Spinner or other recent great shots. Context is important to understanding anything, and the big missing piece here is
it's the 80s, do a lot of coke and vote for Ronald Reagan.
Remember, this shot took place in 1985. At the time of this video's release, the Hackner Double is just over 38 years old, and curling was in a very different place that long ago. Ice conditions were certainly improving in the 1980s. It was part of what allowed Pat Ryan to start developing his hit-first approach that ultimately helped lead to the free guard zone rule, but they weren't as consistent or swingy as you'd see in championship play today. You can find plenty of examples from that era, both in game commentary and written advice for curlers, talking about the high difficulty of hitting on the outside part of the sheet, or picking off rocks that are partially buried. Hackner precisely hitting a small piece of a buried rock was an outrageously low percentage play for the time. Then there's the sweeping. Nowadays, we don't let competitive teams use horsehair brooms, but that's only because their incredible ability to impact the direction of a stone was discovered during the Broomgate controversy of 2015 and 2016. Directional sweeping didn't exist in any real way in 1985, and while his sweepers could hold the line a bit if they had to, there would be little they could do to correct the line of the shot if it was wide. In other words, when put into the context of its time, Al Hackner's double was a shot that seemed nearly as impossible as Edin's spinner did in 2023. It's a reminder that great curlers are always expanding the limits of what's possible on the ice. And whether you prefer the Hackner Double, the Edin spinner, or any of curling's other greatest shots, they all stand as important pieces of the history of our sport. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit like and subscribe to the channel so you'll always know when new content is posted. You can also check out the Chess on Ice Patreon, where I provide exclusive content, early access to most videos, and other perks. If you want to learn more about the Edin Super Spinner shot, you should see a link to the video on screen now. Thanks for watching, and good curling!